My name's Ingrid Shouldice. I was born in Judenburg, Austria, which is near Graz, Austria, a little tiny town at the bottom of a mountain, in 1945, July 20th. My father came from established wealth many generations back. He was in Austria, but the Austrians were also conscripted, so he had to take part in the war. It was on the Russian front that he was wounded, which was to his advantage because the next day his battalion was wiped out. We came to Toronto in 1953, and we lived in 19 Langden Avenue in Mount Dennis, or Weston. It was a row house, so there were 6 on each side, private backyards, and we had a tiny kitchen with eating area that had a window looked out over the road, 3 bedrooms upstairs, in which I shared one with my 2 brothers. My mom and dad had the other one, and the third one was rented out to a uncle or friend. I don't actually know what he was. In the main floor there was also a living room where my father had a big desk that he had built out of orange crate wood. So he didn't just stack orange crates the way students do. He actually used the wood to build this wraparound desk. And that's where he did his work, so we had to be quiet a lot of the time. My father was a civil engineer, and he worked for Central Mortgage and Housing, so he had a job immediately that he came to Canada. That's one reason we were allowed to come. Felt quite isolated because there were a lot of things. We weren't really to talk about anything that happened in our home. I know at one point we got a new swing set, and I told some people that we got a new swing set. My father was furious. He said, "You don't tell anybody anything that's going on in our home." And at the time, I just thought that was kind of nasty. But now I realize what he grew up in during the war. You couldn't safely talk about anything that happened in your home, and he couldn't get over that. The house we lived in at that time, the row house, was subsidized housing, and it was able to be built, this whole community, because there had been a sand/gravel pit there. We always used to walk to Sender's drugstore. That was, you could go there and buy a popsicle. My friends would have their nickel to buy a popsicle. I was allowed to go along, but I didn't have a nickel. I suppose they could have given me a nickel, but my father was looking to the future and saving whatever he could so that we wouldn't continue to live in subsidized housing. It was actually quite an interesting mix of people. Some people were there because they were going to be there forever. One lady, the sad story that some people have, she once burned her kitchen chairs in the furnace because she was out of coal. And then we had our neighbor friends. They lived at the end of our little 6-house street. They were Persian, and they had their wealth stored in the basement with their Persian carpets. My father figured his wealth was his education, that he could move on that way. And that Persian family with their carpets, they did move ahead. I know that their kids also grew up to have good careers.